Welcome to Man in America. I'm your host, Seth Holhouse. So, we could be witnessing one of the most significant shifts in the global financial system that we would have seen in our entire lifetimes and generations. What's happening are a lot of clues that point to the potential of Trump returning us back to a gold standard. Now, people have been talking about this for a while, but there's actually a lot of things that we're focusing on in today's show, real receipts of showing what's happening that point to a much larger strategy that might be one of the key ways that Trump is combating the entire de-dollarization campaign. And so this isn't just about gold. It's actually about the dollar and the role of the dollar. And if you look at the BRICS de-dollarization campaign, a lot of folks have been very concerned about this as economic warfare against the United States. But there's a lot of experts that are saying that Trump might actually be intentionally devaluing the dollar, because what it does is it makes the manufacturing in America far more competitive on a global scale, right? If our dollar is so high in its value against other currencies, if it's 5, 10 times higher of a value than other currencies, that means that our exports aren't competitive internationally. And so if you look at Trump's overall agenda to bring manufacturing and production back to America, it goes hand in hand with a devaluation of our currency, which also goes hand in hand with the potential of moving us back to a gold standard. Now, what's happening amidst all this, though, is the cracks forming in the entire manipulated market of precious metals, the paper market, where they will take, 1 or 10 ounces of silver, and they will have paper on top of paper on top of paper contracts, all selling the same ounce of silver. But what happens though, when everyone wants that 1 ounce of silver delivered and they can't deliver, the market starts to crack. And so the suppression that we've seen of precious metal prices could soon be reaching an end, which means an explosion in this market. So this is going to be a great interview. I've got my good friend John Perez coming on to go through all this and a lot more. So please enjoy the interview. Mr. John Perez. Man, is it good to have you back on the show. It's always such a blast speaking with you, and it's wonderful. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I mean, it couldn't be better time. The markets are all working in our direction. And as you know, I was running a silver gold stocks club, and we are on fire. So I'm so glad you called, because the whole world has changed. I mean, in the last 90 days, we went from Trump pumping Bitcoin in October, November, to suddenly we're going to a gold standard here. And you got some great material. And now here we are, gold at near $3,000 an ounce. Silver ready to go to that 32.50, 32.77 barrier, on its way to 38, 39, 40 silver, onward to 50 to 65. Our stocks are flying. Everything's flying. Judy Shelton is talking. And this is everything we work for. That's why you had your people collect gold to protect themselves. And now here we are, that moment of truth. But people think it's going to be a one-time event. No, this bull market is going to go for 9 years or longer. And Trump and Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, and Trump are now promoting gold. What more could we want?
It's
awesome.
Wild. It is. And so I've got a few things to pull up here just to frame our discussion. So one, this is a tweet that came out earlier today. This is from this Adam, over on X. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt, right? This tweet, if I just saw this tweet with no other background information, I'd be like, oh, okay, what's going on here? But with the next bit of information I'm going to go through, it makes sense of this. So this guy's saying that breaking, officials within the Trump administration have said that President Trump is considering returning the U.S. dollar back to the gold standard. This would allow U.S. currency to be directly exchanged for gold. So really cool, obviously, right? That's a big deal.
Yeah.
But, we've been seeing these things for a long time, right? It's like, oh, this and that. But there's another tweet that this is a thread with a guy named Matt Smith. And I was going back and forth with him. Really nice guy. I invited him on the show, and he said, look, he goes, my purpose is to get this information out and let the experts talk about it. So I told, okay, well, tell you what, I'll read through your tweet with John Perez and we'll cover it. So let me walk through this, because, and before I jump into that, I want to kind of frame it a little bit. If you look at what Trump is doing, you look at the tariffs, you look at the discussion of no income tax, you look at a lot of these bigger moves that he's making, while he's also basically demanding lower interest rates from the Fed, which is going to
Yes.
further devalue the dollar. It's like, how do you make sense of all this? This tweet makes very good sense of it. So I'll read through this, and then I can't wait to get your thoughts. So Matt says, buckle up. There's a massive move happening in the gold market that almost nobody's talking about. Huge physical deliveries, shortages in London, gold flowing into the US at record levels. Someone with deep pockets is scooping up gold, likely the US Treasury or Fed. Now, as a side note, I did a show with this, I think, a week or two ago, talking about how in London, the wait times for getting gold, so say you had paper gold, that it went from like a week delivery to now they're saying it's 4 to 6 weeks delivery. It's almost like you go to your bank and you say, hey, I want to withdraw $10,000. And instead of them saying, okay, here's your $10,000, they say, well, what if we get to you in about 3 weeks? Like that's kind of what the equivalent is. You'd be asking yourself, wait, do you even have that money? Why is it taking you 3 weeks? What's going on? So this is happening in the gold market. So I'll continue reading. So he's saying, why? The theory, they're preparing for a full-on gold audit, meaning they're reshoring gold they might have leased out. Once audited, that gold could form the backbone of a new monetary system. This could signal a seismic shift in the dollar's status and value. The end game, a major devaluation of the US dollar to reset America's global competitiveness. Think back to 1971. Nixon shutting the gold window, or 1985, the Plaza Accord. This time, it might be even bigger. Some call it the Mar-a-Lago Accord. He says tariffs are key. They aren't just about steel, aluminum, or stopping fentanyl. They're the cudgel to force other countries to accept a new currency regime. The U.S. wants to drive down the dollar's value versus the yuan, euro, yen, etc., to boost exports and domestic industry. Meanwhile, Trump's team is talking up a new sovereign wealth fund. This means turning America's natural resources, mineral rights, and strategic assets into equity. Suddenly, the U.S. balance sheet doesn't look so terrible, but watch for inflation because that's the plan too. Inflation crushes current debts, government and private, but it also punishes everyday people with higher prices. The bet is wages will rise too, thanks to new industrial policies like forcing profits to be reinvested into the U.S., a nod to China's model, ironically. If it goes right, we end with a gold-backed or partially gold-backed currency, new capital controls, and a two-tier dollar, domestic versus international. The Fed could even get scrapped, replaced by something like stablecoin tech, but with gold in the vault. Wild, right? This is either a brilliant adult solution to an unsustainable debt spiral or a step toward a heavily managed, non-free market system, possibly both. Either way, the message, something must change or the whole thing breaks. So they're doing it. If you're a regular person, holding physical gold is the hedge against a collapsing dollar. Expect big changes in trade, currency rules, and prices for everything. The move could be fast. The 70s had staggering inflation. This time might be more dramatic. Bottom line, prepare for a major monetary reset, one that's orchestrated, they hope, rather than chaotic. These aren't half-baked theories. You can see it in gold flows, Trump's policy picks, the talk of a sovereign wealth fund, and looming forced revaluation. So stay alert. Keep an eye on gold, tariffs, and any rumblings about auditing U.S. reserves. Inflation is coming by design. The old system is toast. Time for what might be the biggest economic shakeup since 71. Ignore at your own risk. So, John, I want to get your thoughts on that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go find another thread that I found that I want to read through after you respond to this, that walks through basically what happened post World War II and how it just actually, it adds even more to this argument. But I'll let you respond to this, though.
Well, there's a lot there, and I'm in agreement with this guy. I'm every little point he covered, I've talked about on my show. And the part that a lot of people don't understand regarding the revaluation, I'll probably try to put it in plain, simple English anyone can figure out. Currently, the gold that is reportedly on inventory is priced at $42 per ounce. By the way, today, July 12th, today is a special day. I believe that Nixon came off the gold window today on February 12th. So there's a delta going on here. There's also talk about revaluation coming in at $3,300, which would be somewhat interesting because the 1933, when they seized gold here, there's some numerology stuff parked in there. But today's an important delta. I had it earlier, but July 12th, I believe it was the day that Nixon took us off the gold window. So it's unusual that here we are on the same day at delta. Also, on the outskirts here, Judy Shelton, who is Trump's pick for U.S. Treasury Secretary or Federal Reserve person here, she tweeted out Monday that it is time to make the U.S. dollar as good as gold. And I said, that's a signal right there. And then bam, we have Scott Bessent, whose largest position is gold also. And we've got Trump, who's now getting into the mining stock sector here by changing all the rules and regulations to increase the rapid movement of exploration stocks in critical minerals to where they're removing the environmental impact reports on here so companies can go into production quicker, which to me is going to affect the exploration stocks more than the larger stocks, make them more appealing. We're in the stock market. We've been in for 3 years preparing. There's a tsunami of money coming in. My entire group is going nuts. Stocks are on the move in a big way. The public doesn't see it. Only 1% of the investment public is actually in the stock market. So we're just sitting back all by ourselves here and just watching. All the boats are lifting right now. We have the big run in the stock market has already begun. And this coincides with what this gentleman was saying here. And I'm in agreement here. If Trump revalues the inventory gold it's at $42, which it was, I believe, in 1933. If he revalues it to say $2,900, $3,000 gold, then that's an $800 billion gold deposit into the U.S. Treasury that can be used to back what? What did Judy Shelton put out? She put out a book regarding a gold-backed U.S. dollar, a 40-year note backed by gold here. And I do believe that this gentleman saying about the big buyer of gold, there's no doubt in my mind, this is Scott Bessent at the Treasury bringing in gold here. And, the question is, well, how are they getting all this gold? Trump is using the economic billy club. You see what he's doing. He is absolutely just hitting people over the head or threatening. We will tariff your country 100%. Give us our gold back here, because God knows what these maniacs were doing prior to this here. Hopefully we'll get some disclosure. I think we're going to get tokenization coming in. And like the gentleman said about securitizing the United States total assets, without a doubt, when Trump said we're going to go to a crypto society, they're going to take all the in-ground assets of gold, commodities, lead, coal, everything. They're going to tokenize it, and he's going to turn it into a giant freaking credit card, a sovereign wealth credit card, and it's going to go into the sovereign wealth fund. It'll be a giant he's a real estate guy. He knows how to grab land and make value out of it. He likes the bankers. He likes the loans. He's going to this is why he's going after Greenland and Canada, because Canada's loaded with resources. He keeps on saying 51st state. He wants all those resources to grab him. It's like Monroe Doctrine again. American assets, add them all up, tokenize them, put them as a sovereign wealth fund, and ban that credit card right there. The debt will be erased with this here. And so this gentleman here, I love that post. It was great when you sent it to me. I thought this guy is nailing it here. But there's without a doubt, this is already happening. It's on full throttle right now. Even though it's coming out kind of vague, this and that, from my perspective, I can tell by the velocity and the magnitude of money coming into my sector here that I've told Michael, look, you guys, we're done. We prepared 3 years here. We are on the move. We are going to make a lot of money on this here. And again, what's with the significance of this is the fact that only 1% of global investment in gold and silver is in gold and silver markets. At the end of the bull market, that ends up being between 28 and 33%. We got 30x more money coming in, 30x coming into the mining stock sector. And if you're in the right stocks that are leveraged, you got 30x, and you got silver stocks that are going to be leveraged 5x, 10x, 20x on top of multiplied against the 30x. So we're seeing it already. And that's just this point. My people are crazy right now. It's like, where's all this money coming from? I said, we planned 3 years. So he's right on the money. I believe we're going to go to that 40-year gold-backed treasury note. Trump is buying all the gold back. And again, he's going to turn it into a big, giant commodities asset backed credit card. And then if he backs the US dollar with gold and the assets in the ground, like the BRICS, it's game over. The US dollar is, I think the dollar is going to crash just like the ruble did in the first quarter of 2022. The ruble went down and it was, oh, the ruble's over. It's over. They started the war. They're short and the ruble's crashing. And what happened? How did it get based? Down, 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 down. And Putin says, let's put gold behind the ruble. Bam, it got a floor and it went straight back up. I believe Trump's going to do exactly the same thing. When he does that, gold's just going to absolutely scream. The BRICS will be happy. It'll be a war between the bankers around the world. There's going to be all kinds of destabilization going on. But that's what gold loves. Gold loves this. And then look at silver. Gold up $500. Silver does nothing. The silver, the movie, they're going to release the Silver Kraken. And when you see silver going through 36, 38, you're going to see a level of economic destruction on paper everywhere. Real estate is waiting for the stock market to pull back. And then you're going to see real estate, the rug get pulled there. If these banks get cornered, they're going to shut all their credit equity lines, just like they did in the last crash in 08, 09. It's the same thing again. And in my first interview with you, I said real estate would be 5 times worse in this one. And it's going to be, it's already crashing in many areas here. So I could go on and on, but this guy's right on the money here. We are no doubt going to a gold system. And that's why Trump said, this is the new golden age. And Scott Bessent, the golden age. Judy Shelton, it's time to make the dollar as good as gold. Well, how do you do that, Judy? It's quite simple because, she's pro gold. 45 states in the United States have taken away capital gains taxes from gold and silver. If Trump removes the IRS and you make $1 million in the stock market, you're all of a sudden you're keeping all that money. Are you kidding me? And if you had all your physical, you're literally a bank. You are a sovereign individual here. You have economic freedom here. That's why everyone needs to really focus on having that physical on hand. And the stock side, it's a strategic and tactical move. It's very difficult, but you can do really well. Even this market's going to be so strong that even someone who doesn't know what they're doing will actually just kick. You're going to make money. It's that good right now. This is the beginning of something that we planned on for 3 years. And now it's payday. It's pay years, not payday. It's pay years in the future here because it's a long-term bull market. The minute this US dollar gets backed by the token, and like he said about the stable coin here, we could see a tokenized listen, the third largest buyer of US treasuries is Tether, which is unaudited. What's going on at Tether here? What if Tether, the third largest buyer of treasuries, what if they decide to start buying gold and then they back their stable coin with gold and they've got treasuries? And they get audited and suddenly, hey, well, we're backed by US treasuries and gold because they have the money. They're kind of like an electronic Federal Reserve. And so there's all kinds of mechanisms out there at the end of the day that we can go down this rabbit hole. But the bottom line is this. If you are not positioned to profit on this, is once in a lifetime here, you're going to miss out. Chance of a lifetime. Here's your chance to get out of the rat race. Time to get rich. Time to pay the bills. The bonus would be this. Hey, Trump, can you get rid of the IRS? All my people just made $1 million. Okay, no IRS. All of a sudden, hey, guess what? You're not paying your tax. I've been telling my guys, listen, he's going to do it. He's going to get rid of the IRS. And you guys are going to be running around like a bunch of naked rich monkeys. It's that good right now. I'm a little dramatic, but it is that good right now. We're kicking butt right now.
So there's two kind of things I want to bridge into with this. One is I've got another thread I want to read through, not the whole thing, but that helps break down inflation, de-dollarization, and how it ties into bringing manufacturing back to the United States to make the United States a massive export empire instead of a massive import empire, right? Because we know that the de-dollarization campaign by the BRICS has been going strong and they're continuing. Now, Trump could either fight that and resist it, or he could embrace it, allow the dollar to drop significantly in value, which makes America way more competitive as an exporter than an importer. So I'm going to touch on that, and then I want to then get into the silver squeeze, the gold squeeze, right? And paper contracts, manipulation of prices. I have another really good article that I want to show about that and get your thoughts on that. But let me go and read this thread. I won't read the whole thing. I went over this on a previous show last week, but this is so significant. So I'll read through a little bit of this. This guy, Jack Mahler's over on X. He says, We are witnessing the unwind of the World War II economic order. What's happening is now much bigger than tariffs. For nearly 80 years, the US exported dollars while importing goods in debt. The system is failing. What's next? A move back to a neutral reserve currency. Now, this guy is more of a Bitcoin fan, which I'm not. I don't really. I'm not. Well, I won't get into that. To me, it's gold, but again, it could be many different things. Anyway, the key though is the information he's presenting here. So, after World War II, the world was decimated. The U.S. was the only industrial power left standing. Europe and Japan were in ruins. The world needed to be rebuilt, and the U.S. took the lead. How? The U.S. funded global reconstruction with efforts like the Marshall Plan and Bretton Woods. There's some pictures for you. The idea was simple. The U.S. would buy foreign goods, run trade deficits, send dollars abroad, let other countries produce stuff. In return, other countries would use the dollar as the global reserve currency, accumulating U.S. debt as their savings. In essence, the world gets dollars, the U.S. gets good. You can see here a little graph of the trade deficit, right? The U.S. trade deficit, how we went from producing a lot of goods in say 1990 to very few exporting in 2022. Continuing, he says the system did what it was supposed to do and fueled decades of global growth. Japan, Germany, South Korea, and eventually China all industrialized by producing goods for Americans. The U.S. kept printing dollars and the world kept accepting them because they had no other choice. The issue was this wasn't sustainable. Printing pieces of paper and not doing any real work couldn't last forever. The U.S. was sending dollars out while manufacturing left the country. Over time, the U.S. became a consumer, not a producer. This is a really good graph showing the Chinese and the U.S. share of global manufacturing output. Back in 2024, the U.S. was almost a quarter of all output, where China was 8%. And now China is almost 30% and U.S. down to 16%. Huge shift, right? So in summary, the problem is the U.S. can't run permanent trade deficits forever. The U.S. deindustrialized itself, manufacturing jobs gone, middle class crushed. Meanwhile, China rose by taking over global production. All the while, the U.S. racked up 35 plus trillion in debt and other nations began to question the system. Why hold U.S. debt as reserves while the USD loses value? This is where the Tariff dilemma comes in. If the U.S. dollar is the global reserve, the U.S. must run deficits to supply the world with dollars. But doing this hollows out the domestic economy, forcing the U.S. to import more than it exports. The global demand for dollars keeps the dollar artificially strong, making U.S. goods less competitive and pushing manufacturing overseas. It's a trap, and finally, it's failing. So the Tariff dilemma is a nation that issues a global reserve currency will damage their export economy. He says this is why the U.S. needs to reshore production and weaken the dollar. If the U.S. wants to bring back manufacturing, it needs to make American production competitive again. This means two things. One, tariffs, force companies to stop offshoring production. And two, a weaker dollar, make U.S. exports cheaper and more attractive. This is exactly what Trump and his new administration are pushing for. You see, tariffs are not just about trade. They're part of a larger strategy to shift the U.S. economic model. A weaker dollar makes U.S. exports more competitive and also helps inflate away its debt. Now, just a quick point, John, is this is how China has become so competitive with manufacturing is because they've manipulated their currency. They have kept their currency so low that a dollar here equals, say, $10 over there. So you can, it's 10% of the cost to buy goods manufactured in China than America, even look at just the differences in the currency. So continuing there, he says, however, one problem Trump has run into is Jerome Powell. The U.S. government doesn't control the U.S. dollar, a private bank does. The Fed isn't cutting rates fast enough for Trump to keep his campaign promises and execute his plan. This is where Trump's battle with the Fed begins. Trump needs to lower rates because it benefits real estate, debtors, and economic growth. But Powell has been keeping rates higher for longer, slowing the economy and fighting inflation. Trump can't get his weaker dollar until Powell cuts rates aggressively. So how does Trump force Powell's hand? If the Fed won't cut voluntarily, Trump will create conditions where they don't have a choice. By pushing tariffs and other economic pressure, Trump can manufacture a mini financial crisis. If Powell doesn't play along, he'll have to act. All of this came right after Powell spoke on Wednesday, by the way. Coincidence? I think not. The Fed doesn't want the death of Pax Americana, so eventually they'll cave and cut rates. That's when the dollar weakens and the real devaluation begins. Trump knows this, by the way. He mentioned the short-term pain being worth it last night. This is what we're living through as I'm typing out this tweet storm. So it continues, but basically I'll stop there because what I'm seeing with this point is that I think that Trump knows that he has to weaken the dollar. He has to force the Fed
Yes.
to cut rates, which you see him doing, right? And it just came out today. I think inflation's higher than they expected. But I think that's what Trump wants. It's crazy because I always thought that
I agree.
de-dollarization, the devaluation of the dollar, was this weapon of war against the U.S. But now Trump can leverage that to make us more competitive with manufacturing. And then if he goes back and he then takes that devalued dollar, puts it onto a gold standard, I mean, it changes everything. So anyway, John,
Yes.
what do you think about this?
That is a fabulous post. I mean, that was really one of the best ones I've never heard that dilemma there before, but it makes sense here. And I think a lot of this stuff has been planned many, many years ago. And the problem that, you know, we hear a lot of commentators talk about nobody wants the dollar anymore because they're printing it and diluting it. Well, how do you fix that? Back it, do the same. What did the BRICS do? They used assets to back their currency. So Trump is going to do the same thing. I believe Trump's, you know, with the BRICS, you've got, you know, what, 30, 40, 50 countries putting their assets into a basket. Trump, okay, well, I'm going to get Canada and I'm going to get Greenland and maybe we'll get Australia and the UK. We'll get their assets and we'll put them in a basket and we're going to be we're going to be competing here. And I've always believed this, and I've said this on my show many times. And on my I did a show on Rumble. I said that there's coming Trump gold standard. I said Trump is going to come up with his own plan and he's going to cooperate with the BRICS. Because the one thing Trump said once in an interview regarding Vladimir Putin, who's president of the BRICS, was he was asked, so do you see Russia and Putin as the enemy of the United States? And he said, no, I don't. I consider Russia a competitor, which to me is the healthy way to look at things. Being enemies with nuclear weapons, not a good idea, not profitable. Being competitors with lots of resources and competition, I've always believed on a personal level that competition brings out the best in all of us to perform in what we're doing here. And I think Trump is really going to pull this off. This is a dilemma, but I think Trump is absolutely on the road here. And this goes to, look at his picks. You got Judy Shelton and Scott Bessent. Scott said his largest position is in gold. I believe that was a signal, a big signal here. The tariffs, great. If he said 100% tariffs on car manufacturers in Canada, well, guess what, General Motors? Looks like you're going to bring home your operations here. I mean, Canada can go pretty much bankrupt if Trump goes scorched earth on manufacturing, on tariffs in Canada. You're going to see if he goes with 25% in Mexico, there goes Ford production, bring it home. There goes production, GM production Canada, bring it home here. Here we come home. What happened? Jobs. We got jobs are returning here because of the tariffs. We got a lot of manufacturing in China. Oh boy, that's going to be something here. We'll see what happens there. So, well, tariffs coming in, stocks going down, stocks are crashing. We got all these companies going down here. Hey, Powell, market's going down here. Are you watching here? Dow Jones is down 1,200 points, 800 points, 900 points. Well, I can see boom, 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 boom. It's like, boom, breaking news here. Jerome Powell, emergency rate cut based on these. So I think this guy's right on the money. A mini financial crisis would be the tariffs really hitting the manufacturers that have offshore to China and other places, suddenly saying, we're going to be hit with a 25% tariff. There goes our profit margins. We need to go. And it's not, Trump's not going to back off. The stock, that's when their stocks are going to go down. There are 5,000 McDonald's in China. You know, all the shoe manufacturers, all the sports apparel manufacturers, they're going to be in a pickle here. And China's in an interesting position because they're going to be able to, they're going to retaliate. So, you know, what are they going to do? You know, okay, well, we're going to put a tariff on American companies here. We want 10% of all your proceeds, and we're going to raise your taxes since you got, and then that's when you get the seesaw effect, and it's push and pull, and the companies are going to get squeezed in the middle, and like a bottle of toothpaste, Trump is going to squeeze that toothpaste, and that, what I expect to see is manufacturing coming back overseas in America. All of a sudden, we're rebuilding here, jobs, and of course, Americans, we're building jobs. I mean, Trump would love nothing more than to say, I created 10 million jobs. I brought home manufacturing. Here he is on the presidential pulpit here. we're bringing tariffs in. Now their tariffs are coming in here. And there's a double-edged sword. Not only a tariff money coming on board, it also, there is the possibility, I've said this in my group, if enough tariffs come in, say goodbye to the IRS. Why? Because that money can replace the money they're taking from us. And boy, if he brings down energy costs down to $1.22 a gallon, $1.50, IRS gone, this country on cheap energy, because we are the Saudi Arabia of natural gas, cheap energy drives, this country will absolutely blow up. I mean, our economy will just boom. But there's, on the short term, there'll be some suffering. But on the back end there, we can go next level out there. And again, back to the tokenization of assets here. You got the BRICS over here with all their countries. And then Trump says, okay, well, here's my answer to you. I've got tokenized assets backed by gold and assets in the ground. So let's do business. Let's do business. We had a little problem here. And then right in the middle, what are they going to do? You'll use some sort of, digitization, crypto, XRP, whatever, to do transactions there to replace the SWIFT program. And everybody's in business. Everybody's happy. And it's a competitive playing field. Meanwhile, we would just see onshoring of manufacturing, just like the gentleman said here in the Treffin dilemma here. And Trump is going to absolutely capitalize it. The other side of the coin is this. Imagine if Biden was still presidency. Imagine if Obama was president. What a contrast. We'd be having a heart attack right now. But if Trump can come out at the end of his shock and awe Trumpian plan, and then just come out and say, no IRS, more jobs, low energy costs. And I've always said this here. Cheap energy drives economies. Suddenly you're going to work, you're not paying as much gas. You're going to work, your taxes are down. You're going to work, I'm not paying the IRS. That's more money in your pocket to spend on new products being manufactured here in the United States. Who wins? The Americans win. It's America first. And he really is getting the job done. He's moving very quickly, quicker than I expected. And actually caught me off guard as how aggressive he's been. And then you've got Elon that with that Doge just nuking DC, and he's about to expose all this fraud, U.S. aid, Pelosi making all this money while all of us out here are working our asses off trying to do things by the book. He's going to completely destroy the entire infrastructure. And then we got Kash Patel. The Epstein list is coming, and just watch what happens there. That's very close by. And then another event that people not talking about, I covered the RICO laws lawsuit that Devin Nunes applied when he's president of DJT Stock, going after the shorters, illegal shorting. There's a RICO case out there. If that comes out, stock market goes down. This RICO law, we're going to see shorting be heavily regulated. I'll probably be banned as the market is crashing. Hey, market's crashing. Let's ban shorting here. Well, there's a lawsuit out there in Canada called Save Canadian Mining. Big lawsuit, trillion in damage, $1 billion lawsuit about suing all these people that are illegally shorting the entire junior mining sector here. That lawsuit is moving forward here. We are in the junior mining exploration sector. We're watching. If the shorts come off, I have stocks that are shorted 80, 90, 100%. We have one today. We have a big short squeeze situation. Those shorts come off, and all this money coming in, gold going up here. We're going to see a move in the mining stock sector, silver stock sector. They're going to move to the heavens, and it's happening though right now. This is not. I've been watching. Now it's accelerating, and the Trump tariffs. Okay, we'd like some silver from Mexico. A 25% tariff. What? We'd like some gold here. It's 25% tariff. Suddenly, the possibility of them paying more for that gold is going to be going up because of the tariffs here. So we have a perfect storm. If it's a Q world here, if the storm was upon us in the economic sector and gold and silver, this is it right now. And it's beautiful. We're ready to party. We're ready to party and make some money here. It's been a big piece here, but these are great posts, as good as it gets.
What's
and
also,
good summary there.
What's crazy about this is if you look at what's happened, right, with the artificial, what do you call it, the manipulation of silver and gold prices through the paper stocks, right? And if you look at what happened, I just mentioned how in London, this is a couple of weeks back, they were able to fulfill these deliveries, right? All these people were all of a sudden, we saw this huge shift of all these gold assets, this physical gold, all flowing into New York, all flowing into America. Whereas, people that were, had stored their gold with the Bank of England are going there, and the bank's like, sorry, we can't really get your money to you, right? So this to me it's the beginning of the bank run on precious metals, which I think will expose the manipulation that has kept these prices so low. And so I think that Trump sees this coming. And I think what's happening is that there is a massive repatriation of gold happening in preparation
Yes.
for this, because if gold gets then revalued against a dollar, and this all happens, and all of a sudden now gold is, say, $20,000 an ounce versus $2,500 an ounce, and say silver is $300 an ounce versus $30 an ounce. It makes sense compared to looking at where the dollar's at, right? Because if you go back in time, and I've done these calculations before, one thing, for example, back in the 30s, a $20 bill was equivalent to a $20 ounce of gold, right? So that $20 that single ounce of gold, or a $20 bill, could buy you a whole suit. They could buy you shoes, or there's a certain calculation for how many ounces of gold could buy a house. Well, it's the same thing. That many ounces of gold still buy a house, except the problem is that the dollar has lost so much value that you look at how, okay, right now it takes the average house in America is probably $600,000. It doesn't make sense. But if this shift happens, the people that are holding the gold are the ones that get to rise up with it, whereas those that are holding the dollar sink down with it. And so for anybody that, say,
Yes.
has a mortgage, I've thought, okay, if I've got some extra money, should I pay my mortgage down extra, or should I put that money into silver? And thinking, well,
Silver.
because if the dollar gets massively devalued through inflation into hyperinflation, which seems to be what Trump is doing, because it fits in with making us more competitive as an exporting, as a manufacturer export country, that is, the bank is not going to come to me and say, hey, Seth, the dollar's kind of
Yeah.
hyperinflating, so we're going to reevaluate your bank loan and you're going to owe us $4 million instead of 500,000. No, actually what it is, let's just say I've got
Yeah.
$100,000 in silver at $30 an ounce, which then goes to $200 an ounce, right? Then it's like, oh, well, that mortgage is gone. Like, oh, here, I'll pay off your mortgage, because it's the people that are holding the dollar that get stuck with the deflation of the dollar. But then
It's true.
looking at what happens if this market breaks, right? If all these artificial caps and all this paper market manipulation breaks, that's what I think then really unlocks the prices of precious metals. And actually, so I've got an article here, and I think you're going to love this. Have you seen this article yet? The Silver Squeeze: Market Manipulation in the Coming Storm.
I saw it. I only read the first paragraph, and
Oh, wait.
I just posted. I said, "This is so much good stuff out here." This is great. I mean,
Yeah.
there's the great news about these articles is that the idea of silver manipulation is finally going mainstream, and that is, I mean, that's what more could you have? As a silver guy of 18 years, this is heaven for me. But yeah, please read. This is a
Yeah,
really good
let me
article.
read through this, and I know we've got a lot of reading in this show, but this information is so good, so I can't wait to hear your response to this. So this is an article that came out on February 10th over on Zero Hedge, and I'm going to read through a little bit of this. Okay, so it says the silver market has always fascinated me, particularly because of its dual role as both a precious and industrial metal. What many don't realize is that we're heading into what could be the most significant silver bull market in history, one that could make the 70s look like a mere preview. Let me tell you why, but first, let me share a revealing story from my time at Sprott that exposed just how fragile the silver market really is. Okay, so Sprott this is Sprott. This is a company. It's a global leader in precious metals and critical materials asset management, right? So it's a global asset manager specifically focusing on metals. Okay, so let me read this a little bit, because this explains exactly what's happening right now. So the Sprott Silver saga. Okay, during my tenure at Sprott from 2002 to 2013, we had accumulated a significant position in silver in the 2005-2007 period. This was done via top-tier bullion bank certificates that promised 5-day delivery, right? Paper silver, right? It's the paper that says that you own that silver in the bank, right? He says these weren't small positions. We're talking about substantial tonnage, okay? It tells you how big the company this is. They're talking about tonnage of silver that was supposedly safely stored and readily available. What unfolded next exposed a troubling reality about the paper silver market and I believe led to the huge run in silver that followed as it ultimately ran to its all-time high in nominal terms. When we decided to take delivery, right? So when they wanted to actually take delivery of these tons of silver they had, he said, what should have been a routine 5-day process turned into a 9-month odyssey of excuses and misdirection. We had strategically contracted to store our silver in Canada's government refinery and storage facility, ironically, the same facility that had been emptied when Canada foolishly sold off its gold and silver reserves. The vaults were empty, waiting for our silver. At first, our counterparties claimed it was merely a logistical issue. Then the excuses began. First, they said the silver would come from New York as weeks went by. When that didn't materialize, it was supposedly coming from Chicago, and months passed. Then England became the source with a couple more months of shipping estimate assurances. Finally, they claimed it would come from China, requiring cross-Canada rail transport as a way of explaining a few months of delay. When I demanded bar numbers for our inventory purposes, we were met with weeks of silence and more excuses. Our legal position was frustrating. Our lawyers advised we couldn't effectively sue because what damages could we claim? Missing out on the enjoyment of looking at our silver bars wasn't exactly a compelling legal argument. Meanwhile, silver prices kept climbing. The truth became clear. Okay, our counterparties had taken our money and likely just bought futures contracts. They never had the physical silver. This situation likely triggered the 2006-2010 silver rally and foretells what will likely occur again soon. The reality is, over
Yes.
many decades, bullion banks have been caught repeatedly manipulating commodity markets. When squeezes start due to actual physical demand, they engage in unethical conduct, delaying their deliveries to buy themselves time. This is exactly what's happening with the Bank of England right now with gold deliveries, right? We talked about that. They likely get aggressive and outer month futures contracts to cover their butts and probably even ultimately profit from the rise they expect they will be causing as they slow walk their promised delivery of material. Along the way, they rely on margin requirements to be increased and profit taking to occur by speculators that don't have market insights as the banks do. Finally, after they've positioned themselves net long via the futures market, they let the price rip up. So the modern silver market, today's silver market is facing unprecedented pressures. Beyond traditional industrial uses, we're seeing explosive growth in medical applications, high-tech electronics and semiconductor, solar panel, electric vehicle, solid-state battery technology. But here's what makes this time different. We're on the cusp of a robotics revolution. From home cleaning robots to industrial automation to autonomous mining equipment, the coming wave of automation will require massive amounts of silver for solid-state batteries and electronics. And in the growing energy storage needs for wind and solar power, we're looking at structural demand that dwarfs anything we've seen before. Historical perspective. Silver has always been considered poor man's gold, but history shows its potential for explosive moves. The French learned this lesson the hard way when silver left their country and their currency was no longer backed, leading to economic chaos. The inflation-adjusted highs from the 70s would equate to over $200 an ounce silver today, and I believe will not only test but exceed those levels. Why this time is different. The coming silver bull market will be unprecedented for several reasons. Global silver inventories and central banks' holdings have been depleted to record levels versus the huge inventories present in the 70s. Mining projects face unprecedented permitting challenge and delays. Continuing here, when the market finally breaks, we'll likely see exchanges failing to deliver physical silver, forcing cash settlements. This will drive people to seek physical metal, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. Just like in the 70s, we'll see panic buying silver coins in bars. But this cycle won't be lining up in this cycle. People won't be lining up in the streets. We will see sold-out signs appear globally on bullion selling websites. The perfect storm. Unlike previous bull markets, today we have depleted strategic stockpiles, higher industrial demand already in structural deficit, greater dependency on silver for new technologies, a more interconnected global financial system, larger money supply relative to available physical silver, new tech emerging requiring unprecedented amounts of silver. The bottom line, the lesson from my Sprott day remains clear. When you really need delivery, paper promises can prove worthless. In a market this tight, physical possession isn't just 9/10 of the law, it's everything. The coming silver squeeze will likely make our previous delivery issues look minor in comparison. We're heading toward a perfect storm where industrial demand, monetary instability, and physical market tightness converge. When people realize how poor a store of value cash and bonds have become, just as in the 70s, they'll flood into precious metals. But this time, with silver's critical industrial role and structural supply deficit, the upside could be truly historic. The coming silver default. I know this is like music to your ears.
I'm in heaven. It's like everything my entire career summing up right here. And it's the beginning of just massive process. I mean, we went to the last bull market and just so much money made here. It's the money's in the stock. Once all the physical silver on the surface is gone, it's all about the stock market here. We'll see it big time.
Oh, yeah. So the coming silver default, to round this out, the trigger for the next silver delivery failure could come from anywhere, but history suggests it might likely be a major player, perhaps a sovereign wealth fund or a forward-thinking large investor akin to the Mississippi bubble era. When Richard Cantillon converted his paper wealth to silver and moved it out of France, it exposed the fragility of the paper money system and triggered a currency collapse where silver went up 900% in the decade that followed. Today, we're seeing similar warning signs. Major government mints regularly running out of stock, retail premiums at historic highs, and unprecedented industrial demand. The London Metal Exchange's recent nickel crisis showed how quickly commodity exchanges can break under pressure. Whether it's a physically backed ETF failing to source metal, a hedge fund demanding delivery, or a nation state deciding to secure strategic supplies, the outcome will be the same: a cascading effect of delivery defaults that exposes the paper-silver market's hollow promises. Just as in my Sprott days when a request for delivery revealed the emperor had no clothes, the next major delivery demand could expose that there are dozens of claims on each physical ounce. The difference is that this time, with industrial demand at record highs and mining supply constraints, there won't be 9 months to play games. The physical market will break and break hard. The only question is, will you be positioned in physical metal before or after it happens? So this is why I always tell people, right? Like, I want something I can hold. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that they're doing, like they do an IRA where they've got a bank holding. And I think that's relatively safe, in my opinion, because they know that they've got 100 ounces with their name on it sitting in a vault. They can go inspect it, right? That's different than a paper certificate from a bank. But that's why I like this in my hand, right? And you've got a little analogy with your paper and your silver. What was that you're showing me earlier?
So this is a Valcambi kilo bar. Really cool, beautiful, nice and heavy, nice and shiny, just beautiful bar. But for all the viewers out there that don't completely understand the shorting topic, the derivative market, think of, when you hear the word derivative, think fake. And let's say this is physical silver, and they keep repressing the price down. This is how they do it. For every ounce, this is the current ratio. I want to tell you, 1 to approximately 450 ounces of fake paper. So let's say the derivative. This is 450. This is 1 ounce of silver, and this is 450 contracts on top to hold that silver down. So it takes 450 ounces of derivative to hold down 1 ounce. Well, that paper, it just keeps piling up derivatives. Well, what's going to happen here, you guys? It's going to happen here. This is going to blow up, and this paper, which we know they cannot deliver, they're not going to be able, this is going to take off. And because we're so short on above ground stocks, we have industrial demand like we've never seen before in history. This is a perfect storm. This is my 18th year in the silver business. And back in 2006, I moved about $19 million in physical silver. And we work with paper contracts here. This is like nothing anybody has ever seen before, not to mention all the geopolitical things and the Bretton Woods, the BRICS, Trump, tariffs, and everything else here. But it's very important for people to know that the people say, why does silver not go anywhere? Because there's all this fake paper derivatives sitting on top of it. But it's like it's sooner or later, it's like holding a basketball underwater. Eventually that paper is going to come off and people are going to say, we want delivery. It's like, we only have paper. And that's when people are going to panic. What? Just like the guy said, they're going to want I want my silver. And they'll be pounding on the door. It's like, sorry, man, force majeure. You read the contract there. It's a derivative. We can pay you in cash. Well, what's cash worth? I don't want cash. It's good, especially if they're driving the price down. And that's going to be a big problem here. And we're going to see, watch, I will tell you this because this happened in the last market. I remember a couple incidences where there was, be careful, you guys, where major locations that had over 500 million in silver, look at MF Global, they couldn't deliver. Other places couldn't deliver. And suddenly, like, where's the silver? It's, there's a pallet with derivatives on it here. That's why it's so important that you have a core position that you hold. You have to hold it.
Well, I know here's an example right here,
yeah.
John, right here. Look at this. This is from January 30th. Kind of what was happening in London. Paper promises collide with physical reality. London's gold market struggles with 380 million ounce delivery backlog. Right? It says the London gold market is facing unprecedented strain with delays in physical gold deliveries from the Bank of England's vaults surging to 4 to 8 weeks, a stark contrast to the typical 2 to 3 days promised by the London Bullion Markets Association. Right? This disruption stems from a rapid outflow of gold to UX COMEX warehouses with 12.2 million ounces shipped over 2 months amid speculation of potential U.S. Tariffs. So this is it, right? This is the thing, is that if you're that person that you've got your life savings, or you're a company and your assets are sitting, these paper contracts that are being held by a big bank, and they're saying, oh, of course, we've got the metal to back up your paper contracts. The emperor's got no clothes. Now everyone's seeing it now.
I watched a firm way back in, it was 2007, and I knew these guys had problems. And I was telling them, like, I'd stay far away. And sure enough, they did the same thing. They basically took the silver, leveraged it, sold it, did whatever they did, and they replaced it with futures contracts and claimed that that was an equivalent, which it's not. And I think it represents 1/10, but it's a futures con. So it's paper when you really want physical. At the end of the day, that article that you just read, how could they have a deficit like that? Because what they were doing was this. You deposited physical silver there. That physical silver is gone, leased out, borrowed, who knows what they do. And they're reporting paper. Then you go to get the paper. You're like, wait a second. There's 380 million ounces of paper. That's not silver. Where's my silver? Where's my silver? It's like, oh, well, hang on. The dog ate their silver. It's like the dog. And it's pretty soon you're in big trouble. The lawsuits come on. You don't get paid for years. I just, I've seen this happen. I just collected a check from a settlement of a silver collapse of something that happened to me in 2011. I just got paid on that. So you can find yourself in a position where your money, first of all, your silver vanishes. Then you might think, oh, I want my refund. You might not see that money for years. Meanwhile, the price of silver is coming up. You can't trade it. I lost my money in physical. Well, then you better go in the stock market, because as soon as spot takes off and everyone's staring at gold, silver spot price, you're going to see a vibration and then an explosion in the exploration, intermediate, and mining stock sector like you've never seen before. It's already happening here. We are just, like I said, this has been the best month I've had ever in my entire career. But we're in really early. We came in low. We bought 52 Eagle. We bought when nobody was buying. And so we're at the beginning of this. So even though soon here in the next 60 days, we're going to say gold record, silver is going to be taken off. We got the 90-to-1 gold and silver ratio. It's going to adjust. Everyone's going to be talking about spot silver. When nobody's looking, though, you're going to see the miners going to be flying. And then after about 90 days, people say, wait a second, I'm up silver 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%. It's like, I got mining stocks that are up, 400%. And we do. We have one stock that just went up like 900%. Just, tens of millions of dollars are coming to the market. But this is the stuff that people don't see. But this is my specialty. When I left Monex as a silver broker, I went 100% into the mining stock sector. And we have people $1 million profits already. Yeah. So we have 500 people in our stock club here, and everybody's just mad. So John, you said this would, I could give me a 2 to 3 year outlook and it'll happen. Here we are. My anniversary is February 22nd, 2022, exactly 3 years. And all hell is breaking loose and the money's pouring in. And these are probably more sophisticated investors realize, hey, people say, well, I only have physical silver. Hey, everyone here does. You cannot join my stock club unless you have 1,000 ounces of physical. So we got that covered. My background is physical. The paper side, I made people a lot of money in physical silver and physical gold. I had people bought millions in gold at 625, millions in silver at $13, $14, $15. They're in the money. But where I really made them a lot of money is in the stock market, is where I made them millionaires, because that's where the leverage is at. And that is where the money is going to be at. And I hope that everyone starts looking into that. And there's some big deals. You want a free one here? Keep an eye on Durango Resources Inc. Keep an eye on Power Nickel. There you go. Do your own research. Keep an eye. Watch those things. Watch those stocks there. They will be on the move here. So this is probably your best show, Seth, for silver and gold investors. For you to have read that article there on Twitter, without a doubt, I think people should watch this show twice and pay attention to what you read, because this has never happened. It'll never happen again. But it's the opportunity of a lifetime, you guys. Don't miss it. Do not miss it. 18 years, you guys have been waiting. And now it's like time for the freaking Kraken to show up here. When that silver gets out of control, that's going to be the financial crisis. And Trump's going to capitalize on that. And by dropping that dollar, it starts to nosedive there. He's going to be able to reset the gold there and put a floor on it. But this is, this is that seismic shift. It's like an earthquake. And it's the destruction of at the end of the day, this is really the destruction of the deep state old guard of manipulation and suppression. I talked about it in the hashtag silver psyop, where they held down silver for so long, where you're buying silver at a 45% discount to the price it was in 1980. Can you imagine if you took your house and said, hey, well, how much was my house worth in 1980? Oh, it's worth $2 million today. It was worth $100,000 back then. Imagine 100,000 minus 40,000. I can buy my house for 60 grand. That's where silver's at. How can you lose here? You can't lose here. And of course, Trump tweeted it out. Silver is the most undervalued asset on the planet. He said that. He tweeted it out. Silver, what does that mean? Here he was complaining it was at 1650. If Trump said silver is the most undervalued asset on the planet, what's the other side of that? Once everything lets go, he's hey, I mentioned silver, but he's not a talker. He's not a promoter, but he is a promoter there. I believe he's going to come back and say, well, back in 2017, I tweeted out that silver was the most undervalued asset on the planet. Soon, silver will be the best performing asset on the planet. And Trump will, nice one, Trump, nice silver call there. You hit the nail. It was 1650 when he tweeted it out. As soon as we hit $33, it's a one bagger, and then it's going to take off here. So we could not be in a better place right now. I have 500 members here just jumping up and down because we're in the beginning, the early stages. Apologize. Hang on a second here. Stock market's closing here. So
no, you're absolutely right, John. So as much as I wish I could go back and buy silver at 16, 17 bucks an ounce, which I did at that time, I had got a few monster boxes and whatnot. Now I'm looking at thinking, actually, I just messaged my broker this morning. I said, hey, like I want to get 100 more ounces, 200 more ounces, even at 32 bucks an ounce, because it's getting ready to pop.
Still cheap.
So, John, as we're wrapping up, where can people follow you? I know that you've got your Telegram group, which I will put the link in the description. Where else can people follow you? Because you're fun, you're smart, you're on the edge.
I'm having so much fun. That's the thing here. I love all this technical stuff, hardcore economic, making money, but I like having fun as much as I love this. So I have a new website where all my social media is at. It is real John F as in Frank, johnfperez.com. I'm on Telegram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Instagram. My social media. I'm on TikTok. All that social, it's exploding right now. I mean, literally, it's all gold related stuff. I post nonstop, 24/7 here, and I post for the average person who knows. I bought silver, and you want to make more money or should I diversify? It's really for you. It really for those of you. I just want to make as much money as I possibly can, Perez, as quickly as I can. All right, great. I got guys throwing in $500,000, $2 million in the markets here. I mean, the numbers are astronomical here, and I call it the Silver Gold Stocks Country Club. It's a very tight knit group of people, same values. We love America. We're red, white, and blue. We love silver. We know the dollar's going down, but I'm educating like this on the microphone nonstop. You know how much I go, Seth. I go relentlessly. I keep people educated. They make their own decisions here. And at the same time, I'm the total stock coach. I'm like it's like if you had a drill sergeant in the Marines, if you had a coach in foot, I am stock coaching everyone. Let me see this, do this, and we're killing it. We're absolutely, and I'm saying this now. 3 months from now, I'll be giggling on the microphone here. It's just that good. So you hear these stories about the stock market here and silver stocks here. Just you guys, listen, you guys, I'm telling you right now, it has already begun. Don't wait. Start your research now. Get on the game. You can find me at realjohnfperez.com. It's a great group. I'm at 500 people. There's 150 people listening to me right now. I'm broadcasting, so they hear this. And yeah, there's 150 out of 500 people. So we have a consistently about 20% of the group live. But I'm pouring information on silver gold. I mean, I'm the best. I know I'm the best. I've been doing it too long. It's like 18 years here since I left. Like this is like happening here. So super pumped up here. Got family and everyone else, and we're good here. We're good. But thank God for Trump, Bissent. They're on our side now. It's like I look at Trump. I tell people Trump works for us now. He's out there pumping gold. He's pumping mining now. He's pumping rare earth stocks. We have those. I think our top rare earth stuff like up 280%. You know, our power nickel was up like 900%. It was a 10 bagger there. You know, and what else here? We had what's it? A Durango's up 300 and something percent in the last 90 days. It's just already happening here. So I encourage people to get on there, and you can find me, Real John F. Perez, realjohnfperez.com. You'll see all my links. Actually, you'll see some clips on there. I got a whole bunch of stuff coming on YouTube, about 45 seconds, 60 minutes. You can have a lot of information here. And I like educating people. So you can get on, you can hear me saying, oh, okay, I like this guy here. Some of you might think this guy's crazy. Yeah, I'm crazy about success. And I'll say this, you guys, you can mark this down, write this down. I'll tell you right now, this club will be the world's most profitable stock club in the history of mankind. Just watch. I'll show you. Remember that. Write that down. Said most profitable stock market club in the history. Watch. I planned this I wrote this plan for a hedge fund back in 2007. It was called the Silver Lord Fund. And we had to shelve it because of the bear market. Came back, and this time I was ready, and I just got, let's go. Let's go. You got to get in early. And I see stocks just go, these stock, boom. And I see people, they send me screenshots. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. No wonder everyone's crazy. They're happy. They're making money. It's one thing to know everything about gold and silver, the structure, these contracts, this many for me personally, as a guy who's a trader, my job is to make people as much money as I possibly can, as quickly as I can, doing it right, doing it safe, and that's my job. Like, we are going to make as much as I possibly can for people that don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. You got me. I'm like your freaking stock coach. I'll tell you exactly what to do. Got it made with me here. So anyhow, you can tell I'm a little bit excited here.
Just a little bit. Well, John, it's great speaking with you. Thank you for giving me your time today. And we'll probably have to do an update show in the next couple of weeks or month or so, because I think that we're going to see some pretty big shifts. So thanks again for coming on. I'll make sure your links are in the description. Take care, man, and God bless.
Thank you, Seth. Always love being on your show.
Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed that interview. Honestly, this is such an exciting topic. And this is what I've been covering for 3-4 years. This has been a big focus of mine, is covering the manipulation of these markets. It's also why, personally, I've been such a big fan of just physical metal. I'm not a Bitcoin guy. I'm not saying that Bitcoin may not have a place, or other cryptocurrencies don't have a place, but there's just something about me. I like to hold something in my hand that is real, that I can bury in my backyard if I want to. Now, if you're in a position where you're looking to make a purchase for gold or silver, great. It's something that look, I'm not a financial advisor, so do what do your own research. However, even this morning, I was texting my mom saying, Mom, you should really put some more money into silver. It's something that I believe in so much that I do it myself, and I recommend my family does it. Now, if you have someone that's reliable that you can purchase, or you can you do IRA transfers into precious metals, good. Congratulations. there are a lot of very shifty companies out there. The one company that I've been with for quite some time, it was actually one of the first companies that helped me get started with Man in America, is Noble Gold. You've probably seen their name before. I know Colin Plume very well. He's the owner. He's very straight shooter, very good margins. They're experts at doing IRA transfers. So if you have money sitting in IRA, sitting in the dollar, sitting in the stock market, and you want to move that over to precious metals, there's no better company than Noble Gold. Or let's just say that you've got a cash account and you want physical delivery. Say you want to get $100,000 in silver delivered to your doorstep. There's no better company that I've found than Noble Gold. So if you want to learn more about this, go to goldwithseth.com. That brings up this website right here. You can give them a phone call at 626-654-1906, or you can just fill out this form here and you get this gold and silver investment guide as well. But again, call them or fill the form out, whatever you're comfortable with. And again, like I said, if you have someone you're working with already, great, right? I'm not trying to funnel you into working with Noble Gold. If you've got someone that you trust, good for you. However, if you're unsure and you're not, you don't know about which company is good, which one's going to be taking advantage of you, you can use the people that I trust personally, which is Noble Gold Investments, again, with CEO Colin Plume, who I've had on many times before. This is who I would recommend to my own friends and family. So again, that's goldwithseth.com or 626-654-1906. My personal perspective on this is I am trying my best to keep myself out of the dollar. I've still got a mortgage on a house. I still have a mortgage on a few other things, or a loan on a couple other things. So I'm not necessarily paying off all my debts because I'm thinking like, well, if I have this silver and we see the dollar go down and we see the precious metals go up, what that means is that the 10 ounces of silver versus the equivalent in a loan right now, those numbers go like this. So as the dollar devalues, that loan against silver gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Something, gosh, I could pay off my house in a couple of years just by holding the right amount of silver. So again, that's not my investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own research. But again, this is who I use. It's who I personally trust. And that's goldwithseth.com or 626-654-1906.